Good morning. I think it's time to just skip this globalism altogether. It doesn't work. These ideas don't work. In Europe, for instance, we have these 26 countries with an agreement that you should be able to move across the borders freely without being checked up. It didn't work. Countries started to introduce border controls again. And then the EU said, well, we were right about free movement. There shouldn't be any borders. You can have border controls, but only for 2 years. It didn't work. There are now these countries who have 4-year-old border controls. It's Germany, Austria, France, Norway, Sweden and Denmark. So we can just skip it. You know, these guys, they were so full of themselves. They thought they had the right ideas and all the other ideas were crap. We have to go back to nations. Yeah. And they look desperate these days, you see. Their ideas didn't work. Oh, it was a disaster, actually. And you can start to see the panic in their eyes. You can see the panic in politicians' eyes here in Sweden. Yeah. They tried to convince the Swedish citizens that their enemies were the populists and Russians. Yeah. They want you to have an enemy, right? But people are starting to realize that the enemy is right here within the borders. Yeah. It's the media. It's the establishment. It's the politicians. They are working against us. So of course they start to become desperate. This talk about Russians, it doesn't work anymore. And it reminds me a little bit of Romania. And I have this fantastic quote from a person who lived in Romania while there was a communist regime there. Her name is Alice. She's a columnist, reporter here in Sweden. And she says this: in communist Romania, the picture of reality was always more important than reality itself. Sounds familiar? That is why the well-directed manifestations of the great leader were central, because that's why we children were forced to recite poems about our fantastic country and the party. Therefore, the one who pointed at hunger, misery, censorship and liberty, he was reported, imprisoned, or even murdered. That this happened was no accident, but rather part of a social order whose entire existence rested on denial. This sounds like Europe these days, doesn't it? Well, big parts of Europe, at least. It does. Yes. So, yeah, that's all for today. Bye.